Hey everybody, welcome back to Happily Hester After. So at this point we are a few weeks out from my surgery. If y'all haven't seen my video where I talk to you all about my surgery, make sure that you watch it. We're trying our best to keep you all updated on the happenings. But I wanted to make sure that I made a video talking to you all about kind of like the healing process after the surgery, because Daryl pointed out to me that before we did the surgery and before we do a lot of procedures and stuff, we look up online to see how like other women, how their experiences were and how it ended up in the end. So I wanted to make sure that I made a follow-up video so that for those of you that are thinking about or scheduled to have the surgery, you kind of have like a baseline. And always remember, especially when we make videos like this, that everybody's experience is different. You know, different people go through different things, people's bodies are completely different, but I just want to share with you all my experience in hopes that it'll kind of help prepare you, and in hopes that if you have an experience, you want to make sure that it's normal, you kind of know that you are not alone. So I made a list. So I'm going to be reading some of the things off of my list and talking to you about them. So first off, I had my surgery literally my surgery was the day after my period ended. So luckily I had a few weeks until I had to worry about having a period and all that. So that wasn't too bad. My first period after the surgery, and now mind you, the first period, your period might change a little bit after the surgery. I know, for example, I do experience pretty heavy bleeding and back cramps during my period, and the doctor was telling us beforehand that that might change with the surgery, might or might not. For me, not really. First of all, after you have a hysteroscopy, after you have a polyp removed, since it's an invasive procedure, you are expected to have some bleeding for a while afterwards. Some people say that it lasts a couple days, some people say that it lasts a couple weeks. For me, because mine always has to be the extreme end of everything, my bleeding lasted for about 2 weeks. Then my period started on time, so if I had the surgery the day after my period, that means I had my first period about 4 weeks after the surgery. And the period started off very light, which was interesting because normally my periods hit me like a freight train. They'll be like, pah! Like every once in a while I'll have it change up a little bit just so my body can be like, you thought you got me, girl. But this one started very light, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like it was kind of like really light, and it lasted the normal amount of time. So I was hoping that maybe after this I would come up with a 3-day period like some people, but I still got a 7-day period. I'm still for 7 days. And then it picked up, the bleeding and the cramping picked up after about 2 or 3 days. So at first I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to have a light period. There's gonna be 3 days with no cramping. And then about 3 days in, I found out that I fooled myself. So that got back to normal. And even I just started my second period after the surgery literally today while I was at work, and yeah, cramps still there. The bleeding is still pretty light, which I find interesting. I haven't checked my pad in a few hours, but from what I checked earlier, it was pretty light, and it was like a kind of like a brownish color, but it's still red. It's red, but like kind of like a, I don't think that muted is a color describing word, but it just feels like it's not as vibrant. I don't know. It's really weird. It's really weird to explain because it's really weird to see. I was like, what is that? But yeah, so period came on as normal, cramps as normal because I'm still taking all this pain medicine. And then so we had sex. We had to wait until, first we couldn't have sex after the surgery, and then we waited another period. The doctor was like, oh, you can wait 2 periods. By the time we got past that first period, it had already been, because you got to realize I bleeded for 2 weeks, then my period didn't come for 2 more weeks, so that's 4 weeks. Then I had to go through a period, that's 5 weeks, and then we already hadn't, you know, done anything before the surgery because we didn't want to get pregnant before the surgery. So by the time that first period went through, I was feeling fine. The doctor had already checked me out, everything was good. I was like, you know, this is about to happen. So the first time having sex after the surgery was, first time was great. Actually, it felt normal. It actually felt like I was a lot more open which is kind of weird to say, but things went a lot smoother, so that was nice. But then I noticed the second and third time I was very sore, which might have had a little bit less to do with the surgery and more to do with the lack of having sex during that time. But that is kind of a side effect of the surgery, because most doctors will tell you to wait at least 1 or 2 periods before having sex again. So that's something to keep in mind if you have the surgery, that you might experience some soreness the first time you have sex because you haven't had sex in weeks. So that's something to consider, but it got back to normal, which was great. But that is something to consider. What other physical things have I had? I mean, everything just kind of got back to normal. Like, the only thing that was really out of the norm was the bleeding, but that only lasted for about 2 weeks. I think I had cramping for the first day or 2, and then that was pretty much it. And everything just kind of, I mean, it's not like a super invasive surgery. Or, I wouldn't even say it's not super invasive, but it's not like super serious. Like, I went back to work on, what day was my surgery? My surgery was on a Monday. The doctor told me to go ahead and take off the next day. I think I took off Tuesday and Wednesday just to be sure. So I believe I went back to work on Thursday, or maybe I went back to work on Wednesday. I think I took the day and the day after the surgery. So either way, I went back to work after like 2 or 3 days, and I was fine at work. Like, I also don't do anything too strenuous, but I felt fine. Yeah, I was good. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to talk to you all about some of kind of like the experience that I had after the surgery, some of the different specifics, in hopes that it will help you all in any way. And if it did, please comment below, let me know. I'm just going through, and we're all going through it together. This is a journey. But thank you all so much for watching this video and taking time out. Y'all just remember, God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. Y'all have an absolutely blessed and wonderful day, and Lord willing, I will see y'all next time. Bye bye.